Hello and welcome to The Stack. On this week's show, we welcome to our studio Ramdane Touhami to discuss his new magazine on the cultural and political importance of mountains. Plus, photographer François Prost on his photo book After Party, where he photographs French discotheques in broad daylight. Enjoy the show. From Midori House in London, this is The Stack, 30 minutes of print industry analysis, and I am Fernando Augusto Pacheco. We start the show with Ramdane Touhami, the French-Moroccan creative director, entrepreneur, DJ, and also publisher. Ramdane is known as the co-founder of Oficina Universal Bully, together with his wife Victoire de Taillac. Now he also plays the role of a hotelier, in charge of Hotel Dry Berge, located in the Bernese Mountains. And as this is The Stack, he's got a new publication coming out this month called Useless Fighters, a beautiful biannual that describes itself as a magazine for the mountains you don't know. A cultural and political look at the importance of mountains, moving away from the typical clichés of snowplay and alpine tourism. Let's hear it from Ramdane.
The name came from a guy called Lionel Terrail, which is Les Conquérants de l'Inutile, but you can translate from the French to English to Useless Fighters. It's a guy who was going climbing one of the big guy in a mountain in the 1950s, 60s, like post-war guy. A genius for me. He wrote this fantastic book about mountains. I have a big obsession for the mountains. Donc I go all over the world to climb them, to hike. I did Patagonia, I did Sikkim, I did Africa mountains and everything. And I noticed that every time in the Western world, when we talk about mountains, we rarely speak about the mountains who are not westernized, who are chalet-oriented and things like that, like a kind of postcard of Switzerland and America. We have only one sound when we talk about mountains. And I say, no one knows that you can ski in Congo. No one in Renzori.
I didn't know.
No one knows you can ski in Morocco. No one knows how people live in a mountain in India, what they eat, how they live in South America. And I say, I'm going to go on this direction. I'm going to go to this brown world, what I call the brown world, which is Asia, Africa, South America. And I'm going to do a magazine about mountains of this world. Only the mountains. I'm obsessed with these mountains. And donc the first issue is fantastic. You have things from Japan, the biggest cave in the world in Vietnam, and on. You're going to see surprise Peru, Inca Trail, Morocco. Things amazing. It's pretty exciting. And it's good because it's linked to my hobby and my holidays.
It's about the culture of mountains as well and everything that relates to it as well, right?
Yeah. And people who live there, like more the people.
Amazing. I've seen, some of the imagery, and it's quite surprising, as you say, the countries featured, because we have some magazines out there that talks about, climbing, about mountains, but this is something completely different. It's a beautiful product.
It's a big magazine, huh?
How many pages for the first issue?
340, exactly. And it's an interesting, the cover is shot by Léa Colombo in Lesotho. Donc, if you have a mountain in Lesotho, you're going to see a nice cover. I discovered many things by myself. I thought I knew, and I didn't know half of what I discovered when I did this magazine.
When is the idea? Is it coming out very soon? I believe the 18th of June, right? So
you know the date? Yeah. It's out for Fashion Week in Paris. Yeah, it's a lot of, not so many images. It's a lot of text. You'll be surprised. For example, you have a girl called Nakaya Fujiko. She's 92 years old. She's an artist. Her work is about creating fogs. She's very famous. She did a lot of art projects with fogs. And her father in the 1920s is the guy who invented snow machine. So she created the machine to do fogs. The father did the snow. It's an interesting, we went there on this path. It's a very interesting thing. You're going to see it's art. It's talking about also political issues like plastic in the mountains and everything. It's an interesting thing.
Which is a big problem. And Ramdane, just tell us, I know we're going to talk about your other projects soon, but I know you love print magazines. I mean, is that your first magazine that you've created?
No.
Tell us about your experience in that field.
I'm not Tyler Brûlé, that is sure. I'm not a guy who take any idea and do it very seriously for years and do it very solidly. Me, I do a magazine, like sometimes I can make 1, 2, 3 or issue and I stop. I did a magazine about the philosophy around beauty called Corpus. It was 10 years ago, 15 years ago actually, right now. I did a magazine lately called The Wham, which in French slang means me. It's a magazine about myself. And I interviewed all my friends and everything. I'm doing a magazine with Léonard Verlet, who's a very, very good friend of mine, called Epoch. It's more intellectual, but more social and philosophy around the image. Very nicely done. It's more Leo who does it, but it's a very good magazine. I'm a part of it, or I'm helping him on them. And we have a gallery in Paris called Permanent Files, where we show the new contemporary image and everything. It's an interesting project as well. But I always loved doing magazine. I love the object.
Popeye magazine as well.
I have my column for years on Popeye. But also people don't know, but I'm not going to brag, but I'm one of the biggest collector of political magazines for the last 60, 70 years. Donc I collected more than, let's say, 25,000.
And political magazines,
yes, like copies, yes. You can have like gay rights, ecological rights, black rights. I have all the Black Panthers paper. I have the whole, no one has, there's only 2 places in the world where you can have them. The 1,000 copy, different copies, numbers of Black Panthers. Donc you have them at Stanford. And the second guy who has all of them, it's me. I bought the OSPAL Tricontinental magazine, and we bought all the archives in Cuba lately, and we acquired them, and I'm doing kind of fond of all this magazine. Like I'm interested on, I love, and it's super creative, and you have all this mountain magazine, like Mountain Gazette, Desert, and everything. I have all of them. I'm very obsessed. When I sold my company in 2021, I said, okay, instead of buying a Ferrari, I'm going to do this collection. That's it. This is how.
You should do a museum of it.
We're going to do a foundation, where people will be able to access to that. It's funny because I was talking about it just in my meeting just before you. In the 50s, 60s, especially 60s, 70s, when you had any idea, you created a magazine with your friend, very like a small one. It was the way of promoting your ideas or creating a network. When the advertising came to this subculture, everything disappeared, basically. It's very strange. We lost it, like from the early 90s when everyone did like fashion magazine and everything, and it destroyed the whole... You had, for every aspect of the life, like a tiny magazine, independent. Wow, it's fine.
I want to talk about France in particular, even though I don't have a great French, but I love going to the newsstand in France. I do think from the countries I look here at Monaco, there's still some good print products in France, new magazines coming out. What do you think? Maybe you have a different take, looking at your face now.
Yeah, you see it from outside. No, I don't. I think we are losing it a lot. You have a lot of things coming from Spain right now. Italy is producing Milano and everything, but especially Japan. But it's really reducing in Japan. Now it's going down. I don't know. I see a lot of little things in France because there's a big company called LVMH, and like 3 big companies can give you advertising. There's a lot of things around the fashion world. Not sure about if you want to do a magazine about something doesn't bring any interest to the fashion world, you can do well. I don't know. We don't have it. You have in England, especially in England, I'm fascinated by your paper on the weekends.
Oh, I love it.
Like my wife...
Full of supplements.
My wife liked the FT, okay?
Same.
And big up to Joe Ellison, who's doing a fantastic job with the FT weekend. But she buys it. And she really read it like a Bible. Every Saturday she buys it. We don't have that. Because Le Monde doesn't do it. They do, it's nothing. You have like a supplement of gardening, a supplement of housing, a supplement. And you have that at FT, but you have that with The Guardian. We have all the papers. I mean, it's fascinating. Like you still read paper. We don't have this culture in Paris.
That's my favorite thing over the weekend. And I saw Joe Ellison was a guest here on the Stack as well, late last year. But Ramdane, as I said, you have a new magazine, but you have so many projects. Can we talk about your hotel as well, which looks amazing? And you're a man of the mountains, right? So it's such a perfect match. Tell us a bit more, because I think it's already been going on for a few months. It's not quite 1 year, right?
1 year.
1 year already?
More than a year, actually. It's
called Dreiberge, correct?
Dreiberge. It means the free mountain. Donc I was reading one day, a long time ago, a book of Élisée Reclus, which is a cartographer and geographer from the late 19th century, who wrote this fantastic anarchist book. Because the guy was a member of the Commune, he was expelled he has an exile in Switzerland after la Commune. And he wrote this fantastic book called A Story of a Mountain, Histoire d'une montagne. Donc I was reading it, and I said, why this guy talk about mountains? It's my passion, but I just bought it because I knew we had this passion in common. And I read this book, and he said, I went to this valley, and this exactly valley where my hotel is, and I saw these three mountains. And I said, it's at that moment I switched to don't care about mountain to a big fan of mountains. And I wanted to find this place, and I found it. It's funny because it's the same place where Tolkien was having his holidays. Maybe it inspired him for a lot of books. And I went there, and I fell in love in a minute, like when I was in gondola coming up, and we found a hotel, and I really didn't think. I'm a kind of dumb on that. I bought it now. I have a hotel. Yes. And with the view on the three most beautiful mountain in the Alps. And trust me, I know the Alps by heart. And the valley, like just down the valley, is so protected, but UNESCO is protecting it. It's really wild. It's an amazing story. You are in the deepest part of Switzerland. I mean, Oberland is fantastic.
And I think you've added your touch as well, because I've seen the pictures, the typography, the style. I mean, of course, it looks like a hotel in the mountains, but there is kind of a Ramdane touch to it, right?
Yes. I mean, for me, that is much more important. I mean, you do the hotel, you do the thing, you buy it, whatever, you have to run it. But that is, for me, the boring side. The good side is I'm going to create my world. It's my first hotel. Let's do it. Let's do the best bed. Alors, I'm kind of dumb. And I work on feelings. Donc, you open the door, the smells of the hotel. Wow, the music. Wow, the interior. Wow, you go to the room. Wow, you sleep in the bed. Wow, you eat, you see the menu. Wow. And also, I had a problem with the food in mountains. You always gain weight because there's a lot of cheese, and I'm vegetarian, and a lot of dry meat and everything. So let's do something more. You can have the choice to have a good food in the mountains. Donc, we worked on that.
What are you serving there?
You can have a Japanese curry because the chef is here. You can have udon, but you can have also rosti, or you can have a lot of Swiss things, but you have the choice. And that it's pretty good. And everything is fresh because 90% of the food you eat in the mountains is frozen. Now it costs us a lot. I'm not making no money on this project, but it's an important project for me. It's important to have a place, and I want people to come to discover it. It's important.
I'll definitely pay a visit. Where are you based?
You're welcome.
Oh, thank you very much. Where are you based these days? I know Paris is your home base, right? But do you still go a lot to Japan?
I was in Japan 2 days ago.
Oh, really?
My base, Paris, Tokyo, Milan, Muren in Oberland, in Switzerland, and maybe soon in London because we are thinking to move here. For political reasons, France is going to a very strange direction, donc we might move here. And I love this.
And here is going another direction, hopefully in July, right?
I hope for you guys, but it's not only for political reasons here in London. It's like a global city. I love the idea. I was sitting with people. I was in a cafe just before, Monocle Cafe, like people from all over the world were here. I like this global city. I like this mix. I love London for that. It's much more mixed than Paris.
Can I ask you a nerdy question about Japan? Because I know, you have this column on Popeye. I love Japanese magazines. Do you have a favorite Japanese magazines besides Popeye? I'm just trying to scribble down names, something I could buy
I'm not
there.
the target for Popeye, let's be honest. Popeye is like 25, 35, kids who love fashion. I love Go Out, which is a mountain gear magazine, but it's not too much access on cars and clothes. I love it less and less because I can see the publisher of Go Out, it's a car magazine publishing, and I can see car invading the magazine. They created, it's funny how tricky they are. they discover there's a lot of mountain cars like SUV. They say, let's do a magazine to talk to the young people because they are not buying cars. Let's do a magazine to talk first about the clothes of the outdoor and everything, and then on the last page we talk about cars. Like, so we can sell cars. But that I found out when I met them. I don't know which magazine I can tell. I like Brutus, Casa Brutus. I like Access. I like a lot of magazines in Japan who are interesting. I mean, it's a country. I mean, people don't know, but Popeye still sell between 80,000 and 100,000 copies a month.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Brutus is 120,000. They are big magazines. They have an influence. And there's no cool magazine in one country who does that numbers, except in Japan.
It is fascinating. Ramdane, just because here at Monaco, of course, we're starting the coverage for the Paris Olympics. Will you be staying in town?
No.
You're going to the mountains.
You're talking to the anti-Olympics number one in Paris. Okay, I hate this idea. I mean, we have 80 million tourists. What the beep, beep. What are we doing, guys? Why do we need these people? We don't need like this. I mean, I get it. If you're like an unknown city, a country wants to show that they're okay now. I get it. Like China years ago, and I mean Beijing. I can understand. Here, guys, we are here. But Paris, I mean, we are the most visited city in the world. Why do we need to add headaches? No, I don't get it. I'm the worst guy. And of course, actually today was the discussions when we're taking the break for the holidays, and they say, guys, avoid the Olympics. The whole time of the Olympics, my office is closed. It's okay. Go away, guys. Have fun.
Let's go to the mountains at Dreiberge then.
Yeah, anywhere they want. No, but I don't get it. And if you like the Olympics, it's good. But for me, we are struggling in Paris to even welcome all these tourists. I mean, we are not doing good. It's too many tourists right now. Guys, it's Paris now in tourism. It's insane. It was the biggest, but now it's insane. You cannot even, you walk on the street, it's crowded. There is not like a side with no tourists. And I'm not saying to people, don't come, but we are now, I think we are facing a problem in the future for the Parisians. And I'm sure London, you have some part of London, the same problem. It's not funny anymore.
Thank you very much, Ramdane. You can pre-order the first issue of Useless Fighters on ayounghiker.com. The title is published by Permanent Files. And of course, you can look out for Ramdane Touhami's Instagram for all his amazing projects. And now let's talk about French discotheques with Parisian photographer François Prost. I've been following his work for a while on social media, so great to have him on the show to talk about his series After Party, where he photographs French discos in broad daylight, creating a certain nostalgic and visually stunning imagery. He tells me about the second edition of the book.
We did a book a few years ago called After Party that is showing footage of like French nightclubs by day, shot by day only. This book got quite successful, and lately we decided to launch like a new print of it because we were asked by a few people that were looking for this book, and so we decided to make a new edition of it.
I was going to ask, when did you start actually taking pictures of those nightclubs during daylight? Because there's something quite beautiful and nostalgic when you see it, because I don't know why, but it feels very nostalgic, actually.
Well, I started to photograph those nightclub frontage, nightclub facades, let's say. I think my first picture was in 2011. I took this picture like without really having any idea in my head. I just took it a bit randomly. Was doing like a cycling tour with a friend of mine. And at some point I had to wait for him in the parking lot. He was a bit behind me. And I stopped wherever I was, which was in a parking lot of a nightclub. But it was like a quite remote nightclub in Burgundy. Looking around me, I saw this club, like with this parking lot at the floor of the parking lot at the pavement. There were like many like flyers, packets of cigarettes, like empty packets of cigarettes, like broken glass, tires, prints on the floor, like that would say that some cars were here, maybe driving a bit fast, but I don't know, like there were many signs saying that something happened here, like a few hours before. But when I was there, it was very calm, like there were like birds singing, a car passing by every 5 minutes. So there was I felt like there was kind of a like disconnection between what I was seeing and what I was living. And like just randomly, I took a picture of the club. That was, I think, obviously like maybe an old farm that was transformed into a club. Like they would just like put like a sign on the frontage and like a few spots, like light spots that was just saying it was an actual club. But just like the whole scenery looked really like bucolic. So I decided to take a picture of it. A few months later, just looking at my archive, I saw this picture again. And then I felt like it was like an actual subject. And I felt there should be many more like places like this. So I decided to basically look for those places, and then I started to photograph them like during eventually like a family trip, or like I was just doing some detour in the weekends to shoot those places. And slowly it became like more and more like an activity. And then I started to have like a big collection, and then I decided to do a book of it. I started to have like publication out of it. I just realized it was interesting people somehow. Also because, as you were asking me, I think, also because I think those places, they are made of many memories somehow. And I think many people, not to say every people, but almost every people, I think we all have like some memories into nightclubs, because I think it's like maybe the first time we feel a little bit like not adults, but let's say, when you're like a teenager or a young adult, I think the nightclubs, at least for our generation, they were like the space where you maybe could feel your first feeling of like, let's say, freedom, or you're by yourself between other young people. And then you start having your first love stories, your first kisses, your first fights. I don't know, like those places, they are very full of memories. And I think that's what people also feel when they look at those pictures. I mean, I guess.
And those spaces, they are, I think, to me, your work is also a celebration of the nightclub, because I don't know about you, Francois, but I don't know, I've heard stories that people are not going out as much as they would as well. So it almost takes us back, to the time. It is kind of a celebration of places that some of them are fading, actually. So it's nice that you have everything registered there in your camera.
Exactly. I think, as you were saying, like those places, they are not going very well in terms of frequentation and business. And it's also somehow like a kind of a tribute to all those places many people have been. And seeing it again, like you were saying, it feels like it's saying, okay, it was quite a good fun, like being in those places somehow.
Let's talk about some of the themes as well, because I saw your video. There's a lot of they're quite extravagant. I love that. They're not just kind of boring. There's a lot of neon. There's a nod to the United States. A lot of kind of very vibrant tropical colors. Is that something in France in particular, do you think? Because I don't know, here in the UK, I didn't came across as many cool clubs like that.
Well, that's an interesting question, because actually, before starting all this project, I think I wouldn't suspect France to be as colorful as like poppy. But then, because this project, I tried to develop this project also abroad. I made a few research in UK as well, but I also went to the USA basically to shoot nightclub frontage. But then, like, after all the researches I've been doing, I felt a little bit not disappointed, but like it was looking not as poppy, as colorful as what I would have found in France. I mean, compared to what I found it in France. So I guess it's a French thing, or maybe let's say a Latin thing, because I've been also to Spain, also to pursue these projects. I felt, like a few, not connection, because there are always like specificities about with the country where I do the photographs, but cultural specificities, of course. But I think in France, I was quite amazed by the, like very poppy, very colorful, very extravagant look.
One of my favorites, I don't know if you remember, the L'Aquarius, because it was the name of the school I've studied in Brazil. And I love the name, and it was so cool. It was kind of pink and blue, Beautiful.
Yeah. I think this one is also like industrial, let's say like old industrial building that's been transformed into a nightclub. And for example, this nightclub I heard recently, it was demolished and now they built it like a supermarket. Aldi, Aldi.
Oh, that's very sad, actually.
Yeah, but I think it's also, that's also what, I wouldn't say what makes this project interesting because it's not the matter of it, but like, those places, they are also very ephemerical, Even for the places who stays, I think the owner of the clubs change quite often from like the pictures I've been starting, let's say almost 15 years ago. I guess there are many places that either were demolished or either just changed their name, have new signs. So I quite noticed this. And as you were saying also, especially since maybe 10 years, the nightclubs in terms of business, it's very complicated because many reasons. Because also I think like everywhere in the world, people like slowly leaves the countryside and those places, many of them were shot in the countryside or like, let's say in like big suburbs of cities. Yeah, this project also speaks about this. I think to me, it's also, let's say like a landscape photography project. Let's say photography project about the French landscape through the prism of like those frontage, those facades. Because like many of the places are located in the countryside or in the suburbs.
And you've done something similar. I would like to mention your other projects, like with Club Ivoire, but it was in a different country, which was also fascinating, right?
Yeah, I thought it would be interesting to go also to Africa. I had some connection in Abidjan, in Ivory Coast, and Abidjan is also very renowned for its cultural and like nightlife. So like my brother especially told me, because he knew the city quite well, told me, it would be good for you to go there, maybe to make some pictures of clubs. So I went there. That was basically last year.
It looked amazing.
It was 2 years ago. Thank you. And then last year I went to Japan, not to shoot clubs, but then I went there to shoot love hotels. That is like also a little bit different, but it's still also like very vernacular. It's also something very connected to the Japan culture. I mean, it's something quite specific about like Japan. It's the same, not project, but like it's the same regard, It's just like, okay, love hotels. I spotted hundreds of love hotels and took a car. I went there and I photographed them by day, showing them like very objectively, doing like a kind of inventory. And I'm also working on this. And normally I'm supposed to make a book out of it next year.
And where people can actually go and buy the products, including the updated After Party?
Well, for now, we are launching our edition 2 of After Party book through Kickstarter because I've been doing, I did 2 Kickstarter already. So we decided to do a new one with this project. And we can pre-order the book on Kickstarter. And afterward, it will be published by Headbanger Publishing. That is like the Headbanger
music label, right?
Yeah, it's a music label that also do a few books. And because the subject is quite connected to music and to pop culture, they were interested into publishing it. So I'm working with like Pedro Winter, that is like the owner of the label, and like the founder and owner of the label. And like basically through Kickstarter, you can pre-order the book that will be signed for the occasion. But you can pre-order it through Kickstarter.
Thank you very much, François. And for more information about his work and where you can buy a copy of After Party Edition 2, go to his Instagram, @François Prost. And that's it for this week's show. My thanks to our editor, Jack Jewers. Any comments or queries, feel free to write to me, Fernando, at fp@monocle.com. We're back next Saturday at 10 a.m. London time. You've been listening to The Stack. I'm Fernando Augusto Pacheco. Until next time, it's goodbye from me.